director of the Torchlight Campus Policy Center. I want to start out by congratulating the administration on completing 4 out of the 5 promises outlined on the within the June 3rd letter from the administration regarding the national racial referendum. The 5th point about continuing to support and advocating fundraising opportunities is something that we haven't had any progress on reported yet, and that's included in one of the questions that I'm going to be asking later. And I'm looking forward to receiving some information about that and further congratulating the administration on completing those. Further, with the passage of Bill 93 in the Senate last week or something, mandating that the Indigenous Land Acknowledgement Act be read at the beginning of every single meeting held under SGA auspices. I'm curious if that's going to begin today with this meeting to remain in line with those statutes. And again, that's something that, as the bill is currently written and passed, has to be read at every single meeting. So I'm curious as to the administration's stance on that as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the questions being read. And thank you all again for your attention and time. Thank you.
All right, we'll wait a couple more seconds, see if anyone wants to say anything. All right, Shayna. JC, if you could unmute Shayna for me.
Hello? Okay, cool. Thank you, Max. And JC. Hi, I'm Shayna Cohen. I'm with the Jewish Student Union. We just wanted to come and say that we appreciate the executive branch's very comprehensive statement that they released last week, especially the parts that condemn anti-Semitism and that kind of statement. And we also know that part of the executive branch's plan moving forward is to continue to engage in these difficult dialogue and conversations. So if they see any way that the Jewish Student Union can be helpful in that, our lines of communication are always open. We encourage people to follow us on Instagram at FSUJSU, and our president's email is jsUpresident@fsu@gmail.com. So if you ever want to reach out to us, those are the best ways, and you can always reach out to me directly. And we also just wanted to reiterate that whether you're Jewish or not, whether you're ethnically, culturally, religiously Jewish, whether you're not Jewish at all, regardless of what kind of position you have in student government or not, or what your current opinions are, or in relation to any definitions or resolutions that have passed, the Jewish Student Union is open to absolutely everybody. So we encourage anybody that wants to learn and connect with us, or is looking for a sense of Jewish community on campus to please reach out and connect with us. So thank you.
Awesome. For those of you just joining, we're in public comments right now. So if you do want to make a public comment, just go ahead, use the raise your hand feature, because I know we just had a big influx of people join. So we still have roughly 1 minute and 15 seconds available to you all. Thanks, Tazzy.
No problem.
All right, I'm not seeing any more hands, and there's no one in the waiting room. So we're going to stop public comments at 4:30. If you feel like you need to say something, then reach out to me or JC, and we will find a time later on. Thank you. All right. Now I'm going to pass it off to Student Body President Jonathan Levin, and we're going to get started with the schedule.
Great, thanks, Max. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. We'll make sure we keep on doing these town halls to ensure that we're feeding out all the information, that all the work that's kind of being done behind the scenes. It's truly a busy time for all of us, so we'll try to go over as much as possible and answer y'all's questions. I'm going to start with one thing that was just brought up in public comment, just to address it. about the Bill 93, I believe, about the Land Indigenous Act. That bill has not been approved yet, all the way up the chain of command at all levels to actually be put into statutes. But once it does, and if it does, then we'll be following and accordingly. Just wanted to address that shortly. The next thing on the agenda for today is the reopening plan for the fall, and trying to just update as much as possible. I know we talked about it to a certain extent last month, but of course there's been updates. So just reiterating some of the big points. The Board of Governors did approve the plans from the different universities to reopen following all the certain criteria. All that information is online. If you can the easiest way is just to Google FSU Fall Plan 2020, and you can find all the information there. There it'll also go over to some interesting topics, but some behind the scenes working that's going on is as far as classes. I know that a lot of students, may see that we're technically remote according to their Canvas site. That is just for right now. The way it's working is that the provost office is going through every single class and evaluating all the different students, and the goal is to have at least one person, or for every person to have at least one in-person class. So that's the goal right now. Some students may have more, some students may have less. And again, that's all relative according to any of the updates that's been going on, and what's going to happen throughout the next semester. So I saw Max just put in the link in the chat, so take a look at that. The other part of it is testing. So there are testing sites on campus, and the really cool fact about this is that, yes, it's open to all students, faculty, and staff, but we are currently in the works, and very soon we'll be able to have response times with 8 to 24 hours. So students will be able to get that back super quick and know if they're positive or negative. So overall, I know also the big talk has been athletics. So the athletics department and boosters have been working very diligently to figure out the difficult situations and figure out how we can have it. The priority right now is football, and seeing how students can be the priority and ensuring that they're allowed access into the games and what procedures will be taken from there. So things do change pretty rapidly, as well as protecting a lot of the players to ensure that they can, and what's going to happen once they come off the field, once they leave practice. All those things are still being updated as the days go on. One of the other two big things we wanted to push, and this comes directly from FSU administration, it is flu season, and going into flu season, but there's also been a big increase in strep throat throughout a lot of our students and students throughout the state of Florida, which are very similar features. So one of the biggest things that the FSU administration is recommending, that if you have features and it comes back negative, or if you have symptoms and you come back negative from the COVID test, make sure you contact either your doctor, or if you go to the University Health Center once you're back on campus and get tested for strep throat, because we don't want that spreading, of course, either. And the last item is a high recommendation and encouragement from the FSU administration and the executive branch to be careful and follow the rules, especially being off campus. As college students, I know we like to enjoy at restaurants or different locations throughout Tallahassee, and sometimes we may forget to social distance properly or wear a mask. But if we don't do that off campus, it's going to be very difficult to be on campus in the fall, and try to have as much normalcy as possible. So that comes directly from the president's office. He asked us for our help in pushing out that information. So if you have any more questions about COVID specifically, please reach out to me directly, and I can answer that and give any more updates once the Board of Trustees meets in September. So that wraps up the talk about future fall. I'm going to hand it over. Actually, we're going to go back and forth, but right now I'm going to hand it over to Tazzy to talk about some of the stuff we have going on in the city of Tallahassee.
Thank you, Jonathan. So to get into some of our city efforts, I am so appreciative of just overall the momentum and the activism that's been happening on the ground, really since the start of the pandemic. And we saw a lot of things kick off in late May and going into June. And we know that this work institutionally couldn't have happened without the work that was happening on the ground. So I will forever extend my gratitude to everybody that was participating in civic engagement practices. And some of the things that we've talked about since June, unfolding those events, is police officer report cards, which specifically talks about knowing who exactly is policing our communities and working with TPD to get this established. And just to give you an update on how things have been moving on in progress, it's been really good. We've been meeting with them bi-weekly in regards to the report cards and establishing standardizing meetings up until even after the report cards are established, to understand the feedback that we're getting from the different platforms and et cetera. So right now we're examining what is going to be the power, the analysis power that we're going to need to have from TPD and FSUPD in order to gather information from 10 years back of what we're requesting. And you guys can look at that information. Some of it includes performance evaluation and also things like use of force, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where the standing is right now with the police officer report cards. We still haven't created a hard set deadline because we're first cultivating just knowing how long it's going to take for that information to be brought in. And as of now, our plan is to work with the first 5 years and then continuously update the system as the other from 10 years back information comes in. So if you want to get more hands-on with this, just reach out to us via our emails, and I would love to have you guys on with feedback on how exactly we can incorporate some things with the police officer report cards. And then next, we're going to talk about body cams, and I'm going to let Jonathan go into that.
Great, thanks, Sassy. So we also, one of our requests was to receive the body cam from 3 of the different incidences in the past couple of months. And I wanted to come and give an update on that. So last week, I believe, it's been long weeks, but last week I did have the opportunity to meet with State Attorney Jack Campbell and Dr. Bowden, where we were able to talk more so about the actual protocol and in his decision, since he has decided that he would not be releasing the body cams. To preference that, we first did have a meeting with the Tallahassee PD chief and understood that it's not his authority to release them. And that's why we were able to set up a meeting with the state attorney, who is an FSU grad, has helped a lot, especially with some of the grief crises that we had going on in the past couple of years. But he did make the decision that he would not release the body cam footages, and did give me a very specific and detailed explanation as to why. And he is more than willing. One thing we did talk about is he's more than willing to sit down with any event if we wanted to organize, to explain his reasoning behind that. It has to do with the way he ran his platform and some of the promises that he's made, and allowing the grand jury to decide. So the process is that we'll normally go to a grand jury, and the grand jury would release or decide to release body cam footages. Due to COVID, unfortunately, all cases at the Supreme Court level of Florida were halted. Therefore, the grand jury has not been able to meet on multiple different topics. So he will be able to go more in depth to that. If you do want to have that type of event, please, again, reach out to us, and we can directly set that up.
All right, thank you so much, Jonathan. So now I'll dive a little bit deeper into that conversation regarding accountability and bringing a sense of trust between FSU students and local law enforcement. So in our meeting that we had with the TPD, as well as the FSU administration and Mayor Daley, we had conversations regarding, student reps on the city council, city committee, that will review any of these instances that are controversial and typically have injustices associated with them. And because of that conversation, we were able to get the affirmation from the city manager that there will be 100% ensured student representatives will be on that committee. And that will be coming from all of the 3 institutions in Tallahassee, FSU, FAMU, and TCC. Also, the independent investigation that will be happening as a result of the FSU and FAMU colleges of criminology coming together. They will be coming together to work on a project that will serve as a research opportunity to investigate the operational functions of FSU, PD, and TPD. And we are excited to announce that FSU and TPD have agreed to this and they're welcoming it. And we will definitely be furthering the discussions between these two entities to make sure that this does come to fruition. So I'll be passing on to Tazzy to talk about the app that is being developed.
Yes, the community app is, again, another initiative that we have partnered with TPD. And this community app is really to allow the community members an opportunity to have a space for interactions, recording interactions with any officer. And there's going to include some other things within the community app. Those things are still being worked through as we're talking with different platforms in regards to how the app will be developed. One of those platforms that we're talking to is the same company that the ACLU uses in regards to their applications. And right now that is the phase that the community app is in. We are also working with community members on this app being developed. And like I said before, TPD is also helping push this through. So more information is to come about a timeline about when the community app should be developed and what exactly, what platform is going to be used. And also, just for clarifications, we did talk to the city council about, not city council, the city manager about the appointed seats on the task force that they have implementing. The student representation is something that Christian mentioned that we are advocating for. As of now, there are 9 seats that are going to be open, 5 of which are going to be appointed by the city council, and then 4 of those other seats are going to be standing organizations that they're going to name in the future. And our hopes are that they appoint the FSU, TCC, and FAMU representation as one of those standing organizations or entities. But also, we also understand that there's a lot of different organizations and entities in Tallahassee that are also very deserving of having a space on this task force. So one of the conversations in tandem with this is explaining that we need more representation on this task force. So advocating for that on a city level and for creating a proposal is the plan that we're currently in the plan of doing right now. And yeah, so I'm going to go into, well, before I go into that, I'm going to take it back to Jonathan so you can talk about the last piece of information with the city efforts.
Great, thanks. So one of the other things that has truly we've been trying to work through and has been brought up a lot by students is the incident where FSU students were hit by a driver at one of the protests, and the people are calling it a red truck incident. So that's what I'll refer to. I brought this up at the meeting with the state attorney for transparency's sake, that this person was not charged for anything. Was arrested on the scene and but was not charged. And so when I brought this up, and again, just want to explain that this is for transparency's sake, the reasoning behind this was that there was multiple videos that many people were not able to witness. And it was the understanding of all the law enforcement officers, as well as everyone in the state attorney himself, that one of the individuals inside the car was getting beaten up and was involved in getting punched through the passenger side. So according to that, the law stands that the stand your ground law is what comes into effect, and therefore that there was not enough evidence or there was no reason to have formal charges be brought up against the driver. So whether you agree with that or not, we just want to ensure that we're passing along that information. And once again, the state attorney has said he is more than welcoming to having some type of conversation with students if they have further questions. So I'm going to hand it right back over to Tazzy to talk about something that we're all very excited and happy about.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. So the next part that we're going to be discussing is the racial task force, which I am so excited to serve on and to be able to relate information to you all about what is going on. So with this task force, basically the goal is to advocate for everything that we want to happen on an institutional level. One of those big things is naming. And as we already stated before, and we're going to continue stating, our standing on EP statute. We'll get into that later on. But just explaining where we are with that and looking at naming overall with our institution, and other efforts with diversity and inclusion, and race relations. So that's that. We're doing a lot of tossing, but again, toss it back to Jonathan to talk about some naming efforts that are going on.
So we addressed this last time. We wanted to give an update. So like we said before, specifically with the Epps Hall building, I have promised in the statement, as I will continue to vocalize here today, I will be bringing up that during the Board of Trustees Student Affairs Committee, which is one of the committees that I serve on, and therefore which will be brought up at the Board of Trustees Committee. They have one planned, a special one planned in the next month, but therefore the real one that has been set for the past couple months has been set for September. And so that is what I plan to bring that up on, unless there is another opportunity to bring it up sooner. The information we received, and to explain it a little deeper, that all building namings currently reside in the hands of the Board of Trustees. In the early 2000s, that power transitioned from the Florida legislature and got now in the power of the Board of Trustees for the different universities in Florida. The reason, for example, BK Roberts Hall is not in the hands of the Board of Trustees is because that was named before that transition of power occurred in the mid-1900s. So that is one of those things that has to come to the Board of Trustees to a vote. And so I will be bringing it up to advocate for what the students want. Furthermore, with that, since we're talking about it, we've already mentioned, but we'll say it again, that for the renaming of BK Roberts Hall, this is something that OGA has advocated for the past couple of years. FSU administration has advocated for it. The Faculty Senate has written a letter. There is a resolution in the Student Senate. And this also will be a conversation at the Board of Trustees to be speaking about to get their support, to get our support as a trustee as well. But I know that Kathleen Daly, who is the Director of Government Relations for FSU, is collecting letters of support for the renaming so we can show a strong student support. So I would highly recommend, what's going to happen is we as SGA will be collecting those letters and giving them over to the department. So if you'd like to write a letter in support, please send it to director.oga.fsu@gmail.com, and we'll make sure that our new director, so congratulations to him, Christian Diaz, will organize and be able to send those letters over to the office. Furthermore, and actually, I'll hand over back to Taji real quick, and she can talk about one other thing.
Yeah, just to shed some light to different efforts that have been happening with the Epps statue is recognizing that there's been a lot of outcry on social media, and not only mobilizing happening in efforts, but also students being able to come together on an institutional level and have conversations with university administration, expressing their frustrations and concerns with the statute and recommendations that were made before, and understanding how we are now. So I just wanted to shed light on that conversation, because these are conversations that we're committed to having, but understanding that these conversations are had because we want actions to come out of it. So we're very pleased to see that the statue is removed, and based off of the recommendation that is given from the task force that is currently that's been implemented, for the president to take those recommendations into consideration when deciding finally what happens to the statute, as we know that the removal, as of right now, we don't know where it's going to be moved to. So just wanted to add that in there. And the last piece for naming is Doak Stadium, and just recognizing that there is an independent investigation that is happening by Director Coburn, and that investigation we are urging to happen as soon as possible, as fast as possible, for it to be cohesive, all information gathered and presented, so that the conversation can continue, because we know that right now we're at that phase of the process. So that is where we are in regards to all the naming efforts. We understand that there is a lot of different concerns going on in regards to this, and also we open up our emails again for if people want to have one-on-one conversations in regards to how it can be more involved with advocacy efforts that are happening in regards to naming at our institutions and looking at not only the renaming of buildings and potentials there, but whatever else that frustrations or concerns, thoughts, experiences that you guys may all want to share. And we have one-on-ones, we have office hours for those reasons. So we would love to continue the conversation there. Now I'm going to pass it off to Christian to talk about the Seminole Tribe of Florida.
Right. So moving away from the naming conversation into how FSU represents itself, we have heard and we understand that there's a large concern from many students regarding how FSU represents itself with the Seminole Tribe, the iconography and the symbolism that a lot of students and community members may see as hateful, stereotypical. But we want to acknowledge that the Seminole Tribe of Florida, as well as FSU administration and student government, are all in support of the relationship that the entities have, and that we are committed to doing whatever we can to strengthen this relationship. And so it's not offensive to anyone, and everybody is happy and pleased with the way FSU is representing themselves, and it is an accurate depiction of the Seminole Tribe and how they feel about the relationship. So moving forward, we do want to also recognize that there is a lack of understanding and education among a lot of students in regards to the Seminole Tribe and their significance to the university and the state of Florida. So we are committed to engaging in conversations to discovering different ways that we can increase this education so students can become just more learned about, you know, the representation that they are going through as they go to school at Florida State University and they call themselves a Seminole. You know, we want students to understand what that means to be a Seminole and to really have that unconquered spirit. So some of the avenues that we are, you know, going down and trying to promote are increased advocating for a Brighton Field Day, which is a trip down to the Seminole Tribe of Florida, where students can learn about the tribe and experiences different walks of life that the members of the tribe go through, as well as advocating for new cultural pieces within the new student union, possibly a history class that teaches students about the history of the Seminole Tribe within the state of Florida, as well as town halls with the leadership of the tribe and FSU administration. So these are just some things that we're, you know, thinking about advocating for, and we want to see implemented. So we're going to just discover these options and, you know, reconvene internally and see how we can bring this to fruition.
Perfect. Thank you, Christian, for all that information. Next, we're going to segue into the standing with international students. As we know, there was a report about ICE and their memo that they released. We're very happy that the memo was re-edited, and that is something that we were advocating for our international students. Every time we talk about how does COVID impact different communities, we understand that international students were drastically impacted by the statement that ICE originally put out. So them re-editing the statement is, I think, nonetheless, cannot say that we are very pleased by that, but also understanding that these conversations don't continue, as we don't know what could potentially happen in the future. So we are consistently talking to Jonathan Nurse, who is our federal lobbyist who handles all these national crises and things that are happening on that level, and just staying in contact with him, what's happening on the Hill, and some of those conversations surrounding that.
So in the next topic we go into, which is a large conversation that has been talked about throughout campus a lot recently, is the talk of us as an executive branch denouncing anti-Semitism and our efforts to that and the different support. I'm sure most students are hopefully the information is spreading on the Senate's adoption of a resolution to condemn anti-Semitism, but specific with the executive branch, something that's already been mentioned in public comment. We are very proud, and something we've been working on to help establish the Jewish Task Force, which will fall under the Division of Student Affairs, which one of us on the executive branch will serve on, and that will be public knowledge once that gets released from Dr. Heck's office. As well as we have had multiple conversations with the Jewish Alumni Network, who has a hopes of becoming a Jewish Alumni Association. And it's very cool to see the alumni finding their pride in Florida State University and also their identity and connecting the two together. So we're definitely happy to see that. And also I can address this at this point. that I know that the representative Shayna from JSU was on the call during public comment, and we most definitely, I know they just got recognized as an organization, and our lines of communication is always open, and we want to continue that as they seek to establish themselves in the fall.
Perfect. Now going into conversations surrounding Title IX sexual assault advocacy, we are working with Greek Life in regards to we had conversations with Chris Graham to understand the complexities surrounding Greek Life and the just honest conversations about what sexual assault in Title IX looks like within that area of campus, but also recognizing that we need more people at the table having this conversation because this is something that's plaguing a lot of different communities at FSU. So right now, Colby and Alexa are spearheading our efforts with sexual assault in Title IX, with bringing everybody to have a conversation on re-examining the resources that are provided to students, including the resources within Title IX, the resources within Victims Advocate, the Counseling Center, and also within Greek Life, and seeing where do we go from here as we heard responses from students, and now examining at an institutional level where we are with support and continuing education involved with these conversations. So that's what those advocacy efforts are looking like. The plan is to have a cohesive idea of what exactly we can bring into the fall before the fall starts. So within the next month or so, we'll be organizing those meetings with those leaders so that those conversations could happen. The next thing I'm going to go into, which I'm very excited about and the executive branch is very excited about, is the Unity campaign, which will be published officially this fall. But a part of this campaign is really, we all understand that this time that we're living in, and I think that this is something that's an overdrawn phase, is unprecedented. We all know that, but we also have a point now to examine how do we move together as a community, as an FSU community that recognizes that these conversations are not easy to have. These things that we're going through are not easy to go through, and the more that we lean on each other, the stronger we'll be as a community to move forward. So all that being said, there's a lot of different components of the Unity campaign. Parts of it includes building allyship. Other parts of it includes addressing impacted communities and some of the things that comes into mental health and all those conversations within it. And also celebrating our wins and recognizing where we have moved the needle forward thus far, and also just recognizing where we still want to go and pushing ourselves to go to those efforts too. And this is open for all of FSU community to be involved in. So if you're a person who wants to be more hands-on with what this community campaign would look like for your areas of campus, come. We're looking for more people. And like I said, again, our emails, will say it at the end of the meeting too, to re-emphasize that we would love all hands on deck with this, to give you guys just a sneak peek to some of the things that we're working on behind the scenes. Obviously, there's a lot of moving pieces and nothing is confirmed yet at all. I'm going to say this again on record. Nothing is confirmed yet at all, but this is things that we are advocating for. Is one, to participate on the March on Washington that's happening in late August. Obviously, we're going to be putting in precautions for COVID and making sure that we are staying safe, and our overall wellness is our first and foremost priority. But we are looking to participate and looking for different funding options for those things, which ties in earlier to a point that was made of us advocating for things that are following under those advocacy efforts within those realms. And the university is supportive of us, and we're really excited of that. And of us, we mean as the student body participating in these events. Obviously, again, precautions with the current circumstances of COVID. And then the last thing I want to mention about the Unity campaign is Rise Up, that our Secretary of External Affairs has been working all hands on deck with this. And through this Rise Up, we're able to cultivate a task force here at FSU to talk about 3 specific things that are plaguing just overall institutions of higher education. And we hope to partner with all the institutions in the state of Florida, public institutions in the state of Florida to bring this to their communities so that this could be a campaign throughout the state of Florida that we bring to DC to lobby on a federal level and also lobby on a state level in tandem to that. And that was a mouthful, so I'm going to take a breather and then let Jonathan go into campus rec.
So one thing, just so we can address it for Rise Up, is called Rectifying Injustices Through Student Empowerment of Underrepresented People. So I know it's a mouthful, that's why we're calling it Rise Up. And hopefully FSU, definitely without a doubt, Aaliyah has done a great job with this, and it will be an established task force, but hopefully we will have the privilege of leading the way throughout the entire state of Florida at the Florida legislature and even in Washington, D.C., advocating and ensuring that there is true justice for our students. So that's something that we're all super passionate about, excited for, working hard with, so we're excited to see this come about. As Tazzy said, so we're going to go into just a brief topic about campus rec. So this morning, Christian, myself, and Tazzy had the opportunity to meet with the director and his leadership team on some of the plans, and they asked us for our insight, and we were able to give some pretty good feedback as well as edit the plan moving forward, giving a student perspective. So the first thing is what he wanted to ensure we address is that their plan can change at any time, especially because everything at the national, local, state level with this virus is changing at any time. But the plan right now, and we can say this pretty publicly, is that Campus Rec as a whole does plan to be open, have online as well as in-person events and coordination moving forward. Now, with that being said, there will be a lot of restrictions that still get implemented as we can see as what is turning into the new normal. So, right, will everything be 100% as it was in the spring or last fall? Absolutely not. But they're doing their best, as well as us, to ensure that people are still students are still receiving the service that that they have received in the past. But we're going to try to encourage, or we'll continue to encourage, that all the rules are being followed. Next week, they do plan on releasing all of the rules and what will be open, what will not be open, to move forward and how that all works. It's very complicated. It took us a pretty long meeting to even understand it. So if you have questions, I would suggest reaching out either to us, Campus Rec Board, and we can answer those questions moving forward once that information is all released. One of the biggest topics and the biggest thing I really wanted to push, and they didn't ask us to do this, but I want to give them the respect and thank them. And one of their biggest focuses right now is to ensure that students are able to have the priority in receiving the services. So I know one of our platform points was to allow better guest passes, free passes. I'm going to say right here on record that most likely will not happen because we want to ensure that the students are the priority, and that's what our focus is going to be. But of course, if for some chance everything goes back to the normal in the spring, that's something we'll be looking at, but it's just looking unlikely right now. Next, we're going to go into some of the platform points that we have been working on to update the student body on that. And I'm going to turn it back on to Tazzy to talk about our external affairs and student engagement. Tazzy, you're muted.
Okay, so we're going to blame it on technical difficulties. As you guys know, there's a lot of moving parts to a machine, and we cannot fully operate the way that we do without our secretaries doing the work that they do. So shout out to them for every single thing that they do every single day for the executive branch and the student body and their commitment to making FSU a better place. First thing I want to talk about is Aaliyah's work with external affairs. As we mentioned with Rise Up, she's been spearheading all of that, and her connection with FSA and having conversations with them to bring them on board with Rise Up and what it looks like for the fall semester. Then we go into student engagement with Jalen who organized a wonderful event this past week that was Turn Out, Don't Burn Out, and talked about impacted community understanding their own mental health with navigating through these tough times and understanding activism, what burnout looks like and those different ways that burnout shows up for impacted communities. So that event went amazing. We were able to partner with different organizations and shed light to some of the work that they're doing. And it's something that Jalen is committed to doing in the future and partnering with different RSOs and things of that nature. In tandem to this, Jalen has been really helpful with cultivating the Unity campaign and a curriculum that falls under the Unity campaign. So thank you, Jalen, for all your work. Thank you, Aaliyah, for all your work. And then we'll go into internal affairs with Christian.
All right. So shout out to Rawan for all the amazing work she's been doing with internal affairs. A couple of the things she's been working on recently are the Unity campaign that Tazi alluded to earlier. So right now, the budget and the itinerary are in the process of being finalized. We've already received some funding regarding that. I'm not going to go into specifics here, but you can expect that at a later date. Also, research for the FSU and FAMU documentary is currently ongoing, and outreach is happening right now to get more information to go into that documentary so we can see that be accomplished soon, as well as the initial reach out to FSU for sustainable ideas, how to best promote reusable water bottles for any event in the fall, as well as any other avenues that we may be able to implement so we can have a less of a carbon footprint as a university and anything we can do to become a more sustainable campus. So moving into student life, Jonathan's going to take that over.
Great. So with Ms. Sophia Slimak leading the student life sector of our cabinet, one of the biggest projects she's been working on right now is Angel Drink. Basically, this is something that has been talked about and used on different universities, and it allows, and it goes into our overall point of campus safety. It is a system that allows anybody is at a bar or a restaurant and they feel uncomfortable, they're allowed to say to the waitress or bartender, and they say a certain item like, can I have an angel shot or an angel drink? And this will be a key for the bartender, the waitress to know, or waiter to know that the individual feels unsafe. So this system works, I think, at right now FAU, and there's all different names for it. Sophia has been working very hard to ensure that we can get this program at FSU's campus as well, and kind of make it our own and increase our safety. That is what our exec cabinet has been working on. We'll be able, or you all be able to see our updates on the SGA website under the initiative tracker. We have sent all that information over, so we're just waiting on that. I know it currently reads just more to come, ... But as soon as that information can be updated with the webmaster, it will be on there and you'll see exactly the different items that we're working on. And as you can see also, and I can bring this up now when we talk about platform points and different initiatives, the initiative tracker is going to have a lot more than just the platform points that were on when we ran. And that's because when we stepped into these roles, a lot of things came out, and there's been a lot of different items that we've been focusing on, so that'll all be a part of it. So it'll go beyond just the platform plan that we ran a campaign on. It will be extended and more versatile. So again, shout out to the exec cabinet. We wouldn't be able to do that or without their leadership from Colby. On the other side, we do have some items. We do have some items that our chief of staff, Roka, is working on with the different military organizations and increasing the cohesion between them, between ROTC, the Student Veterans Center, and the other different orgs. He's been kind of taking it on with that, and with Colonel Francis to lead this and kind of unite the campus this way. One other item I did want to mention is that we do, like I said earlier, have a newly confirmed OGA director, but we also have a new confirmed director of the Mental Health Council, and actually the first one ever to be the director of the Mental Health Council. So that's something we're very proud about, because we did sign that bill into statutes a couple months ago. And we're very proud for him. His name is Cal DiMatteo. He served on the Mental Health Council organization when it just an RSO last year, and we're very excited to see the work he's doing. And I did want to reiterate that the executive board is open for applications, as well as for student council for accessibility and advocacy. That is open as well for applications to take on the leadership and take on and lead that organization. So with that being said, that does conclude this section of our updates for the student body. So I know that some people had a couple questions, and we'll be able to go into those now.
All right, awesome. So like Jonathan said, we posted the link for public comments and questions. And like we did before, I'll just read them verbatim. And then any of the exec members, whoever wants to take it, you'll just feel free to chime in. So here we go. Regarding the promise to continue to support and advocate fundraising opportunities promised in this administration's Black Lives Matter statement, what fundraising opportunities has the administration advocated for?
I'll go ahead and take this one. Thank you for that question. So I want to preface this by saying that these fundraising events are going to be ongoing. It's not going to be just a seasonal thing, just this year thing. We want this thing to be something that is continued efforts in the future, as we know that a lot of people on the ground are risking their lives, and also people that are doing what their due diligence, whatever civic engagement looks like for each individual person in capacity, and we are committed to uplifting those efforts. So first and foremost, one of the things that we supported was the GoFundMes that were established for the people who were victims of police brutality and excessive force, with the vigils that we hosted early on during the semester. And those were posted on social media, specifically the NAACP social media Facebook page, and also the second vigil that's also hosted for lives that were lost. And then in tandem to that, some of the efforts that we are currently working on, as stated before, with March on Washington, is something that is very hefty in regards to budgeting and fundraising for, but something that we're committed to doing. And I want to give a really special shout out again to Christian, Jonathan, and Rowan to spearheading this and kind of taking the lead with these fundraising efforts, and trying to pull money from different places, as you can imagine that money can be really tight during this season. So those are just preliminary things that we've been able to do thus far, and we look forward to a lot of the efforts that we'll be able to support and commit to in the future.
Awesome, thanks, Tazzy. All right, next question. It reads, the Torchlight Center is keeping track of SGA's activity regarding the 10 BSU faculty recommendations. Please review our accounting of your progress here, link provided. Has your administration executed any of the recommendations besides that set under recommendation 6?
I'll go ahead and take this one. And what I can say is that we are very familiar with all 10 of the recommendations that the Black Student Union and the Black faculty and staff have made. As an agency of student government, we are in support of the Black Student Union in the fullest, and any way that we can be of assistance to them in accomplishing these recommendations, we will be there to provide that support. As far as from a platform standpoint, we haven't necessarily adopted any of the 10 recommendations as our own, and we haven't committed to fulfilling any of these recommendations. However, that is not to say that that's not a possibility in the future. Right now, we're having internal conversations to decide what's the most best way to go about accomplishing these recommendations, and which ones that we would be willing to adopt as our own platform initiatives for the executive branch. So those conversations are still ongoing, and we will be looking to support the Black Student Union getting these things accomplished in any way that we can. So we would be looking to provide further information on that at a later date once those conversations have concluded and we know exactly how we're going to move forward.
Awesome, thanks, Christian. All right, and lastly, we have Senate President Dar al-Deek has committed to 3 promises to rectify his anti-Semitic actions. If he does not complete those promises in a timely manner, would your administration consider seeking action to remove him?
I can go on about this one. So I want to make it very clear that from the executive branch, we do not have the authority to remove any Senate president. And so therefore the answer is no, we will not remove him because we can't. And the way it works is that the Student Senate can call for a vote of no confidence, as seen multiple times throughout the summer, and they will vote based off of that. The executive branch will wholeheartedly support the decision of those senators and let the vote based off of our statutes take effect, which is a 2/3 vote. So whatever the student senate, they are very respectable and were voted in to lead through and represent in the Senate. Whatever they decide and whatever they vote, we will wholeheartedly support. However, with that being said, I want to reiterate that any actions or verbal statements of hate or discrimination toward any group of people, we will not stand for. And the main focus right now as a university, and something that we wanted to bring up, it's time to unite. It has been definitely a time throughout the summer, and that is exactly what we're going to do, which is one of the main reasons we started this unity campaign. So throughout the Senate, executive branch, judicial, and then even external of just SGA as a whole, our focus is to unite campus, leaving aside and trying to truly have conversations to get rid of hate and discrimination on our campus towards any people. We are one, right? We're Florida State University, and that's the ideals that we have. And that is what we're going to continue to advocate and lead by. And everything else just won't work with our administration, besides putting our students' safety and success first.
Awesome. So those were all the public questions that we had submitted. Tazzy, Jonathan, Christian, do you guys have any closing comments or anything like that?
No, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. I know that one of our biggest things is keeping it at that 1 hour town hall to ensure respect all of your time. But please tune in. I know we did have a larger attendance last time than we did this time. So tell your friends, tell your other student leaders, but we truly want all this information to be out there to the student body. And furthermore, this will be posted on our Instagram. So if you don't yet, give us a follow, share, go ahead and feel free to do that.
Yes,
Right.
and the last thing that I'll add on to that is we know that there's a lot of events and stuff going on or has gone on throughout the summer and will continue to go on in the fall. And we want to support you all in the efforts that you guys are doing in your community. So let us know what's going on in your community. We would love to attend the events and engage with different groups and organizations who are doing amazing work that's wouldn't make FSU if it wasn't without you guys. So thank you guys for everything that you guys do in your own ends of campuses and coming to join in this space to get updated and stay informed. And what is talked about here leaves here. Spread this information. This information is not for us to keep. It's for everybody to know. So just continue to disseminate information to everyone and see you guys at our next town hall.
All right, and I would just like to thank everybody that stopped by to attend for coming and listening to what we have to say. I know we said a lot of information tonight, but it is all very important and very pertinent to the student body and to Florida State as a whole. So we would like to also encourage more students to come out because, like Jonathan said, we had a much larger attendance last time. So if you guys can share this information out, because we have these town halls every month, we're committed to providing that transparency and just letting students know what's going on within their university. So we have these for students. We would like to get this information out to as many students as possible. So just stay tuned. We're going to keep having them every month, so you can look forward to that.
And lastly, if anyone has any specific feedback for town halls, like, you want to hear more about some topic or how it's being run or scheduling, anything like that, please reach out to me. My email is fsusgacos@admin.fsu.edu. And please just let me know your thoughts about how all this is going, because like we said, we're doing this monthly, and we're just going to try to be as transparent and open with the student body as possible. So please just give me your feedback, give me your comments, and we'll try to get it implemented for sure.
Right. And I also wanted to,
yeah.
also wanted to add on to the end that a lot of this, like I said, this is a lot of information to cover. A lot of it can also be found on the SGA Instagram and the statements that we made in a more concise form. And if there's something that wasn't elaborated in detail enough, feel free to reach out to any of the executive branch members. We have an open line of communication. We'd be more than happy to explain anything that we're working on. So, just reach out to us and we'd be more than happy to talk to you.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for coming.